Mr. Swaminathan, we are live on Facebook, so we are good to go. You can start, sir.
Good evening, ma'am. Yeah, we can start over. Thank you all for joining. A warm greetings to everyone, and I wholeheartedly welcome you all for today's session. GEF Global Educators Fraternity has been organizing a series of events for the past 5 days. Today is the sixth day, and today we are having the speakers from various countries of Africa. For the past 5 days, the speakers were from the same country, but today we are from the same continent. We are proud enough to present in front of you the beauty of Africa. I gain immense pleasure in welcoming Mrs. Rachna ma'am, the co-founder of Global Educators Fraternity. She is the entrepreneur, social activist, influencer, co-author, international motivational speaker, curriculum designer, who has designed more than 17 books, and the list will extend if I keep on reading. Great, ma'am. We are pleasure and happy to have you in our forum today. And Mrs. Rachna is a multiple record holder. The topmost ones are World Book of Records, London, Worldwide Top Records, the Great India Book of Records. She has been part of many social, educational associations and bestowed with a number of clothes. The main ones being Dada Sahib Phalke Icon Award, International Progressive Women Award, and Innovative Learning Award by Educational Council of India. The list of awards which Rachna ma'am has been holding or is having with her is a long list, and I have listed very few. We all know Rachna ma'am as the most energetic personality who keeps on motivating the students, the educationists across the globe. And her motto, what I know personally, is that she want to do something to the society, to the students, which keep them happy. Even she is the part of an organization, Fun to Learn. It shows that her motto is the students must learn with fun and everyone should be happy. Rachna ma'am, we all are happy today to be in this session because of you. Thank you very much. I humbly request you to present the welcome address and then bless all our panelists so that today's session is going to be a stellar, successful one.
Namaste from India. And Mr. Swaminathan, sir, I would like to express my gratitude for such a warm welcome. And we have been connected on social media through years, but this pandemic has brought us closer. And you have been closely watching that when the name Fun to Learn comes, we are with kids. But then an idea came that why not the global, all across the globe, we join hands and do something betterment for the society, for the educators in whole. And that is how Global Educators Fraternity was born. So a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to one and all present here, depending upon your different time zones. I, on behalf of the entire team of Global Educators Fraternity, extend a warm welcome to our moderator, Mr. Swaminathan sir, all our keynote speakers, our distinguished guests, and the August gathering present here with us today and watching us live on Facebook. I may not be able to address you all individually, but a warm welcome to each one of you. Today's global dignitaries have joined to deliberate, discuss, and know more about the rich cultural heritage of Africa. And as Mr. Swaminathan rightly mentioned, that last 5 days we were doing one country in a day. Now, here today, it's not a country, but it's a continent. And each speaker will be representing their country. So yes, as informed yesterday, we may exceed little bit of time, but I'm sure today you all will love to know more about that country, Africa, continent Africa. So all over the world, we have unique cultures that differentiate a city from another, a village from another, a country from another country, and a continent from another continent. These cultures are respected and tell us a lot about where we are visiting. Welcome to Africa, where we have hundreds of cultural differences that will blow your mind. Some of the cultures in Africa have not even affected by the civilization, making them rare and amazing. There are some places you visit in Africa and their traditions are fascinating and also a mystery. So today, Mr. Swaminathan will be taking us to the journey of Africa to explore Africa. So let me brief little about Mr. Swaminathan. He is a principal of Delhi Public School International, Kampala, Uganda, which is East Africa. He is a well-known educationist possessing 17 years of experience in the school education sector, has been participating in various national and international webinars as a speaker, resource person, and as a panelist. And this time today as a moderator. As Sir has rightly mentioned on his post on social media. So sir, we all get a first chance, and I could see the excitement when you mentioned on the social media that today you are very happy to be here as a moderator. Every time, always there has to be a first day, and I could, your post clearly stated the happiness which was reflected, and Global Educators Fraternity always focuses to give chance to new people, those who are the unsung heroes. They have a lot of hidden talents, but they have not got that much of exposure. So that is why we tried. Yes, we have seen you as a speaker, as a panelist, but we thought, why not as a moderator today? And you gathered speakers from 6 different countries of Africa, which is itself is a commendable job, sir. So he has been recognized. He has been recognized and awarded by many prestigious national and international organizations. He strongly believes that the capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. Degrees don't matter anymore. Skills do, and which the new education policy 2020 in India also focuses that degrees don't matter, skills do. With this, I hand it over to Mr. Swaminathan sir to take us to the rich culture of Africa. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Rachna ma'am, for blessing us with the loveliest welcome address. As we can see, we have amazing speakers who are to address regarding amazing Africa. Before going into the virtual journey regarding Africa and the address by the speakers, I would like to present the vision and mission of Global Educators Fraternity. So kindly allow me to share the screen.
सो जाएगी सोच रही है 8 बजे तक
Just give me a minute.
Swaminathan sir, you were unmuted. Yes.
Yeah. So GEF stands for Global Educators Fraternity, enlightening, enthralling, and edifying. It has its superb vision and mission. GEF is an association that hankers to build global citizens across the globe to spread awareness in various aspects to make a better quality life, where the like-minded people have joined hand in hand under one roof, which adheres to cater the current issues in the education fraternity at a global level and create responsible and responsive citizens. The aim of GEF is to mentor best practices and upgrade already established practices to serve the community and meet the societal needs. It aspires to promote education through various domains of learning, such as cognitive and social emotional skills. The vision of GEF. The vision is to acquire skills and knowledge to promote sustainable development goals and to provide a network for expanding the spirit of creativity, innovations, and to prepare the young generations with great values globally to make the world a better place. The mission of GEF is to nurture the global learners with the introspection and adorations with the guidance of the experts to bring a revolution in the education fraternity to achieve a long-term, sagacious transformation on how citizens think and act, to develop the key competencies needed in all the facts. Upcoming aspirations, webinars and workshops for the betterment of learners and society at large to enhance the personal traits and professional skills of the citizens globally, to broaden the horizons of knowledge to underprivileged learners in less progressive zones, to create awareness program about health and hygiene, seminars on vocational and career counseling, and many more. Thank you. So as we have seen the vision and mission of GEF, it clearly depicts that it is not just focusing merely on the next 1 year or 2 years, it is focusing on the years, on the life of the learners who are going to lead this globe after few decades. So GEF is mainly with the motto of grooming, developing, and constructing extraordinary learners who will be the global citizens, global leaders in future. With this, I would like to move forward with the main agenda of today's event, that is around the world in 7 days. And today it is the 6th day we are in Africa. And we have speakers from 6 different countries of Africa. Some are from East Africa, some are from West Africa, some are from South Africa. So like that, we have speakers from all parts of Africa. The beautiful Africa is in front of you. First of all, I would like to welcome Mrs. Nagamai Murugappan. She is the head of school, Indian School of Lusaka, Zambia. So she is here to present her superb thoughts and views regarding Zambia in front of us.
Thank you, Mr. Swaminathan. Am I audible to all of you? Okay, wonderful. Thanks. First of all, I would like to thank Ms. Archana and Mr. Swaminathan for giving me an opportunity to be a presenter in this forum. It's nice to be associated with you all. And, despite my busy schedule, Mr. Swaminathan kept, chasing me literally to be on time. I'm thankful to him. And, I have another meeting to attend to after this. So if I leave without watching any of your presentations, it's not a mark of disrespect. Kindly excuse me. Okay, so I would like to present what my students did. I shared with all my students that I'm going to be presenting about Zambia on this forum. And then the grade 9 students said, ma'am, we would like to do a presentation which we want you to present in that. So I would like to present here what my students did on Zambia. Okay. Can I share the screen?
Yes, ma'am, you can.
It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Ma'am, you are the co-host. I think you logged out in between, so co-host option was withdrawn.
No, it is given. I have that. I have that now. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, 1 second. One second. I'm trying to go to the first. Okay, fine. I would like to give you a roundup on Zambia. It's called Musi or Tunya. Musi means the smoke. Tunya means thunders. The smoke that thunders, it basically refers to the Victoria Falls of Zambia. When we talk about Africa, Africa starts with an A. There are A to Z, so many countries in the world. And if you're trying to look for any, anywhere where you're coming from, when you're filling up a form, Z will always be last. So we are from Zambia, but not the least. Okay, and I represent Indian School of Lusaka, which is the first and only CBSE school of the country. It was started in 2018, and there are several schools in Zambia: American International School, British, Italian, Swedish, Lebanese, Chinese. So many international schools are there. So we thought, why not start an Indian school here in Zambia? Because Indians are one of the earliest settlers in Zambia, next only to the British. And after more than 110 years of Indians setting their feet in Zambia, we finally started one Indian school, and that is the Indian School of Lusaka. And I'm the co-founder of that school, and I would like to present about Zambia. This is the map of Zambia, and it is a landlocked country, and it is locked by Congo, Tanzania, Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Botswana, Namibia, and Angola. All these countries are around Zambia. So it has its advantages as well as disadvantages by being a landlocked country. The capital of Zambia is Lusaka. That's where we derive our school name from, Indian School of Lusaka, and it is located in the south central part of Zambia. The population is concentrated mainly around Lusaka and in the south. Apart from that, there is a province known as the Copperbelt province, where a lot of copper is available. So that is where most of the Zambian population is. Okay, and there are many attractions in this marvelous country, and the main attraction comes in the southern part of Zambia. It's known as the Victoria Falls. Victoria Falls presents a spectacular sight of awe-inspiring beauty and grandeur on the Zambezi River. That is like a border between Zambia and Zimbabwe. That is how Zambia also gets its name, from the Zambezi River. And okay, and yeah, it was described by the Kololo tribe as the Musi-o-Tunya. In fact, the famous beer from Zambia is also known as Musi, the smoke. Okay, in the modern times, it's also not only known as Musi-o-Tunya Falls, it's also known as the Victoria Falls, because it is named after the Queen of England, Victoria. When David Livingstone, the explorer, visited Zambia, he saw this falls and he was surprised to see such a big falls. It's like falling down into 100 meters depth. And every time at the height of the rainy season, 500 million cubic meters of water per minute flows over the edge. And the place where this falls is located is known as Livingstone, because it is named after the explorer David Livingstone. And David Livingstone, being very patriotic about his queen, named the falls as the Victoria Falls. And every year, as we must have learned in geography, it is moving because of the erosion that is happening. It's moving behind. So this is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and it is located in Zambia. Next time, you should all try to visit Zambia during April, May, when the season is at its peak. These are some of the sites of the Great Victoria Falls. You can see how the Zambezi River is falling. And we are told that years back, there was an earthquake which split the land, and the waterfalls just fell in. Okay, you can see the falls. Okay, what you see now on the left is the, I don't know what's happening, just a minute. Okay, so okay, economy of Zambia. What you see on the left is the coat of arms of Zambia. It is and the logo of Zambia is one Zambia, one nation. Okay, and what you see on the right is the Zambian flag. The red represents the struggle of the freedom. The black represents the people of Zambia. Orange represents the copper, its mineral wealth, and green, the natural resources. The eagle in flight symbolizes the freedom in Zambia and the ability to rise above the country's problems. Okay, that's about the. Okay, Zambia is a developing country and has achieved middle income status in 2011. During the first decade of the 21st century, its economy was one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. It has 10 provinces. Its capital is Lusaka. Zambia's population is 18.38 million, out of which 58% live less than $1.9 a day. So it's a very developing country, and an average life expectancy is just 62 years. And Zambia's currency is kwacha. Zambia was colonized by British, and it got its independence on October 24th, 1964. It's a landlocked country. It is located in the south central part of Africa. It is situated on a high plateau and takes its name from the Zambezi River, which drains the northern part of the country. And it has got several sectors: mining, agriculture, livestock, industries, services. These are some of the important sectors of the Zambian economy. And that's the end of the presentation, which my children wanted to share with you all. Okay, so I hope I've stuck to my time limit.
Sure. Thank you, Nagamai ma'am. First of all, thank you very much for bringing out the creativity of the students, and then bringing Victoria Falls and making us more crazy about visiting Zambia. That's nice. Thank you very much, Nagamai ma'am. Next, I would like to request Dr. Seema Nair ma'am, the principal of Delhi Public School, Ghana, to address regarding Ghana.
Good afternoon and a big hello to everyone. I'm here to represent the rich and diverse culture of Ghana. You know that culture is a vast and a big term which includes a million things. So given the time limit of 6 to 7 minutes, let me see how I could quickly take you through the rich and diverse culture by highlighting on some of the most important aspects. Let me share the screen. And wait a minute. That is Mami Sima Baku in Ghana. Mami Sima Baku. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So first of all, let me take you through the flag of Ghana, what you see before you. The red signifies the bloodshed during the struggle for their independence. Ghana, by the way, was the first African country to have received its independence in 1963. The yellow here stands for the rich storehouse of minerals that Ghana is known by, especially gold. It was also known as the Gold Coast. The next is the green, which signifies the greenery of Ghana. And in the middle that you see the star, the black star, which signifies the pride of African independence. Ghana is located in West Africa. The population is almost 31 million. With a total area of 2,39,460 square kilometers, Ghana is about the size of the UK and slightly smaller than the state of Oregon in the United States. When we come to the languages, the most predominant language seen here is definitely English, because this country was colonized by British. But if you see the localites, they generally indulge in Pidgin English. This has no grammatical structure, but then most of them speak in that language and it is understandable English. Ghana has about 50 indigenous languages, because Ghana is having a rich ethnicity, because there are a lot of tribes here, almost more than 100. So that many languages, that many dialects are there. The most widely spoken native language in Ghana is the Akan. Let me now take to the cuisine of Ghana. The way to the man's heart is through the stomach. And believe me, food is very, very central for the people in Ghana. And millet is the staple cereal which is found here. And they make a lot of varieties with millet. Fufu, Banku, and Kenke, as you can see, the alluring pictures are here in front of you, which are the most popular diets here for most of the Ghanaians. Fufu is made by pounding cassava and plantain. So you see a number of plantain trees here. It's eaten with soup and meat. The general diet is very hot and spicy. There are a lot of soups and there is a lot of salads which are used along with their diet. And of course, a lot of meat. Banku and okra stew, that's the combination. The okra stew is made with okra with some vegetables, fish and meat. Now let me get to the clothing. Kente. Kente is the popular clothing here, the cloth which is hand woven here. So kente, batik and wax cloth are the clothes that you find the people wearing in. They're very, very interested in wearing the floral prints and their stripes. Arts and craft in Ghana. Kente clothes, as I told you, it's worn by the chiefs, the Akans especially. It's now an important symbol of the artistic capabilities of the people. And this cloth, as I told you, is hand woven on the looms by the local artisans. Ghana is also noted for the production of beads. These beads are used as ornaments in dressing, and they're also used in performing customary rites, like the initiation of the young girls into puberty. So the mothers generally wear these beads around the girl's waist to indicate that she has come of age. That's the importance of the ritual. And beads come in different shapes, sizes, and forms. And one that is worn around the neck actually talks about the clan, the affluence, the background of the wearer. So the larger the beads around the neck, the more affluent he or she is. That is what it indicates. It is also used to ward off evil's eye. They use a lot of beads. So beads are a very treasured for arts used widely in this country, Ghana. Wood carving. Just as you see in this picture, you find the dolls. They are called fertility dolls. So if you find a young woman carrying this doll in his hand, it indicates that she wants to conceive. And they believe very strongly that holding this fertility doll or having this fertility doll by their side will make them conceive soon. So you see, there's a lot of superstitions also very predominant in the Ghanaian culture. Coming to the festivals of Ghana, I should say that Ghana is a land of festivals and traditions. Specifically, it signifies the seasons. As the seasons change, there's a festival. Akwasade festival, as you see, is of the Ashanti region, and it is to indicate the incoming of the harvest season. Most of the festivals, Homowo is also a harvest festival. Akwasade festival is actually celebrated every 6 weeks. Then we have the popular Ashanti Yam festival. The growth of, in fact, yam is a very staple food in the Ashanti region. So they celebrate the Yam festival. So farming is very dear to the Ghanaians. The same way is fishing. Music and dance is their life. The most popular dances are the Adowa dance, the Agbada, and in music there are 3 types of music: the ethnic music, the high life, and the Kora music. Rituals and rites. When I talk about rituals and rites, let me tell you, because there are a number of tribes here, there are a number of rituals and rites. Some which I would like to speak on this forum is the funeral, especially the funeral ceremony. Now, most of them, when the person dies in the family, they cremate it maybe after 10 days, 15 days, 1 year, and the highest in the record is 5 years. Because for them, funeral ceremony is a very lavish affair. They prepare for it, they save for it, and then they celebrate it. It's a big affair for them. They have to wait for every single family member who's anywhere around the world to come for that, because they believe that their ancestors are very important for them. They believe that their ancestors, they believe in the afterlife of ancestors, and so they believe that if they do good, their ancestors will bless them. If they do bad, their ancestors will curse them. there's a lot of importance for elders in the society too, you know. Let me now take you through some quick interesting facts about Ghanaian culture. The Ghanaian handshake. When they shake your hands, the middle finger is actually tweaked, you know, and that's the special trademark of a Ghanaian handshake. They are very, very warm and hospitable people. So when they are, you know, in a restaurant, if a Ghanaian asks you and you're invited for dinner, they really mean it. Fear of rain. There is a predominant fear of rain lingering in their minds. Whenever there's rain and thunder, you find people running around to pack up their things and, you know, as if there's this big, huge thing coming across them. The superstition, as I told you earlier, they're very superstitious. They believe in black magic. They believe in, you know, in fact, the women who are found to practice witchcraft and all, they're banned in the society. They believe a lot in superstitions. And there are a number of superstitions because there are a number of tribes existing in Ghana. Loud noise. You will find it everywhere, in the marketplaces, in the open, in the playgrounds. They are loud. Never use the left hand to serve, greet, and give presents. That's an insult to them. That comes across as very rude to them. Last but not the least, before I wind up, is flexible timekeeping. If you expect them to maintain the British standards that, you know, if it's 6:30, the program is starting, and if you expect a Ghanaian to come at 6:30, then you're going to be taken for a toss, because 6:30, if you say, it will be 7:30 for them, because they're very laid back, very relaxed people, very chilled. You know, they give more importance to human relations as much as they give to business relations. So that's the speciality of Ghana. Warm, hospitable, and the sun is always shining here. With this, I end my presentation here. Thank you. I hope I've kept to the time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, Seema ma'am. Thank you for taking us through the Ghanaian culture, speaking about the lands of festivals and culture. Really, it was amazing. Some of the things are wonderful, I can say, especially the respect to the ancestors, which is declining in many parts of the world. Superb. Thank you for taking us through the culture of Ghana. Next, I would like to invite Mrs. Katial ma'am, Nishu Katial ma'am, the head of Indian International School, Benin, to address regarding the country Benin. Nishu ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Is my screen visible?
No, ma'am. It's visible now, ma'am.
Am I audible, everyone?
Yes, ma'am, you can proceed. You are clearly
Yes, ma'am.
audible.
A very good afternoon or good evening to everyone who's attending. And I thank Rashmi ma'am and Mr. Swaminathan for giving me this opportunity to speak about this beautiful country, Benin. I am representing the Indian International School of Benin, which is the only CBSE affiliated school in Benin. It was established in 2008, and I have been heading the school for the past 13 years. Before proceeding with my country, I would like to show a few facts about Africa. Africa, as we all know, is a continent, and it comprises of 54 countries. Almost 1,500 to 2,000 languages are spoken here in Africa. In Benin alone, we speak 50 to 50 languages or dialects. So can I'll try to share my screen again.
Yeah, please, ma'am. Please. Ma'am. Ma'am, if you are having difficulty, we can go on to the next speaker and then come for your turn, ma'am.
I'll just try one time and
Yeah.
then.
Please, ma'am.
Okay, so I will allow someone else to speak and then I'll join later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Next, I would like to request Dr. Yolanda from South Africa, the amazing speaker, to present her address.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I would like to say a warm welcome and greetings from South Africa. It is always good to be here with GEF. It's always good to be with Dr. Rachna and the team, and they've been doing such amazing work for weeks. So we celebrate you here in South Africa, Rachna, you and your entire team. I am going to take this opportunity now and share my screen to take you through to South Africa. All right. South Africa is as culturally diverse as it is beautiful, marked by several distinct ecosystems, places, people, faces, and religions. A cultural melting pot with ancestral links to communities elsewhere in Africa, in Europe, and the Indian subcontinent, boasting 11 different languages and multitudes of customs and rituals. South Africans define ourselves through our cultural ceremonies and traditions. A traveler's paradise with a plethora of historical sites to visit, including 10 World Heritage Sites, 13 World Top-Rated Tourist Attractions, 25 must-see sites, and over 50 distinct places well worth its weight in gold. South Africa's history is relatively young. It does not have the buildings that date back to the 15th century, because back then, its pristine beaches were combed by die strandlopers, the hunter-gatherer sand people known as beachcombers. But what South Africa does have is an interesting and varied history, coupled with picture-perfect landscapes from the inland safaris of the Kruger National Park, where one could get up close and personal with the big five: the African lion, leopards, rhinoceros, elephants, and Cape buffalo. Or cruise along the Garden Route, known for its hidden lagoons and majestic forests. And if a glass of wine tickles your fancy, then the Cape Winelands in Stellenbosch or Paarl is just the place. But let's not take my word for it. Let's see what South Africa is all about. As of 2021, there are 10 World Heritage Sites in South Africa, including 4 cultural sites, 4 natural sites, and 1 mixed site. But for the sake of time, I will, with brief explanation, go through the 10 World Heritage Sites. Okay, let's start with Robben Island. That's in the Western Cape. It's situated 9 km off the shore from Cape Town, and it's also the place where the South African president, Nelson Mandela, spent 18 of his 27-year prison term. Vredefort Dome in the Free State. Over 2 million years ago, an asteroid the diameter of between 5 and 10 km hit the Earth at this very spot, leaving behind the largest and the oldest verified impact crater on Earth. Ukulamba Drakensberg Park. This is an open-air mountain museum where more than 30,000 examples of Bushman rock art can be viewed on the walls of the caves, situated in KwaZulu-Natal. The cradle of humankind in Gauteng. It is where the origins of the human race can be traced back to and holds great scientific importance. It is also the site of the famous pre-human skull, affectionately known as Mrs. Players, an almost complete hominoid skeleton called Littlefoot, dated 2.3 and 4.17 million years old, respectively. Makubungwe cultural landscape in Limpopo demonstrates the rise and the fall of the first indigenous kingdom in Southern Africa between 900 and 1300 AD. Our big fun. Okay, so Isimelangaliso Wetland Park in KwaZulu-Natal, covering about 240,000 hectares, with a further 84,000 hectares in, on, or under the sea. This subtropical paradise stretches 220 kilometers along the coast, the east coast from St. Lucia to the Mozambican border. Number 7, the Castle of Good Hope in the Western Cape was established as a maritime replenishment station at the Cape of Good Hope for the Dutch East India Company, or better known as the VOC. It is also the oldest surviving colonial building in South Africa. Pilgrim's Rest in Mpumalanga. This living museum takes visitors to the days of the Transvaal Gold Rush and the spirit of a bygone era and these people in their quest for gold. Umtata, Eastern Cape, the home place of our former president, Mr. Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela. The Nelson Mandela Museum comes in at number 9. Lastly, in the Northern Cape, we have the Richtersveld Cultural and Botanical Landscape. It is one of the few places where one can still see a harmonious interaction between man and nature. It is also the pastoral grazing ground for the Nama, the indigenous community who live the transhuman's lifestyle. I would like to take you through to a video now, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to let it play. Or let me share another screen. Let me share my video and then I will wrap up my presentation. Let's try this again. It's rolling, people. Let's give it a few moments and then here we go. Yay.
Dr. Yolanda, is there any problem? Not getting The video is not visible.
Oh, the video is not visible. All right, let me try again. Oh, and I'm enjoying the video here on my side. Let me try again, guys. If I don't get this right, then I will happily share this presentation, but holding fingers crossed. Let me try and just share it again. Visible now?
Yes, it is visible, ma'am.
Oh, perfect. All right, super. And that, sure, let me just get that one off.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Apologies, I logged back in.
Okay. So, thank you, Dr. Alanda, for taking us through South Africa. The video itself depicts how beautiful the country is, how many important historical places are there for us to visit. I hope Rachna ma'am will be planning for a trip to South Africa very soon. On the way, you can visit East Africa also. I'm in Uganda. Next, I request Mrs. Indrani Mazumdar from Uganda. She is the Vice Principal of Delhi Public School International, Kampala, Uganda. Indrani ma'am, you can address regarding Uganda.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Firstly, I hope I'm audible, sir, right, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Everything.
Firstly, would like to extend my thanks to Rachna ma'am and Swaminathan sir for giving me this opportunity to present our beautiful country, Uganda, in front of the
Indrani ma'am, you are on mute. Indrani ma'am, please unmute.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just start over again by extending my thanks to Rachna ma'am and Swaminathan sir for giving me this opportunity to join the GA platform and give a beautiful welcome to everybody to see my country, Uganda. And now let me take you all for the tour for an East African country. All this time we were in the West, in the South. Now let's move to the East African country, Uganda, which has been my home for the last 16 years. So allow me to share the screen and we'll take the tour. Thank you. The screen is visible, I guess.
Ma'am, it's visible. You can proceed.
Okay, thank you. So welcome to Uganda. It is known as the Pearl of Africa. This is the national flag for Uganda. It was known as the Pearl of Africa from the slogan popularized by Winston Churchill through his widely read book, My African Journey in 1908. Uganda is a landlocked country in East Africa with diverse landscape encompasses the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountains and the immense Lake Victoria. Then we can see the map where Lake Victoria, where the East African countries are there, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania. And the lake was named after Queen Victoria by explorer John Hanning Speke. This is the crested crane, the national bird of Uganda. Because of its beauty and elegance, it was taken as a national bird and is commonly called the crested crane in Uganda. It is of national significance. Let us now go through the few facts about Uganda. Uganda has a pleasant year-round weather due to its elevation and location. Greetings are lengthy. Here, if anybody greets, it's like, first, if you want to ask about a place, we have to greet them. Hi, how are you? And then everything is fine. And then you can ask, like, where is that road or where is the address? You know, that is the, so it's like starts with J Baleko Sebo or Nyabo. Nyabo means madam and Sebo is man, sir. Then the life expectancy is around 63.73 years currently, and Uganda has a very large young population globally. 77% of its population is under the age of 30. Then according to religion, like 33% are Roman Catholics. Then we have the Indian communities and the Muslims. The Islam was the first outside religion which came to Uganda. Football is the national sports for Uganda, and the Uganda national football team is nicknamed as the Cranes. Clothing, we can see that's known as Gomesi. It is a national dress for the women for the central and eastern part of Uganda with a large exaggerated shoulders and a waist sash on the waist. And then we'll see about the Uganda. Use a lot of West movement for the folk dances. Then there are some, we'll come to the tribes. Uganda is comprised of 56 tribes, out of which the Baganda, Banyankole, Basoga, Bakiga, they are the major comprising tribes. Karamoja, why Buganda makes up the largest ethnic group, whereas Karamoja is the largest, highest percentage of poor people, we can say, where the Kidepo Valley is. We will have a glimpse of that. And then the Baganda people are actually a Bantu ethnic group native to Buganda, a substantial kingdom. And they were known as the King's Men because the kingdom of Uganda was known as the Bugandan Kingdom. It was named after that. And then we have the Karamoja tribe. They are the ethnic group and the agro-pastoral herders living in the northeast of Uganda. Then we have the Banyankole tribe. For them, they also belong to the Bantu group of people of Ankole, and they have the specialty is the Ankole cows, you know. So when a lady or a girl get married from there, they bring in the cow as a dowry, so with their large horns. Then we can we'll move to tourism in Uganda. Tourism occupies a lot of the economic part of Uganda, and it is of course affected because of the pandemic at the moment. Uganda has large landscape of lush green and wildlife. Then most of the premium, we can say, resorts and all, they are built up here. The major parks. Then we have a like Ugandan shilling 1.8 billion industry. It is so the largest of the park is the Queen Elizabeth Bath and the Murchison. And Kidibo has this beauty of the zebra and the giraffe having together there. You know, in the other parks, only the lion or the big five you can see. But in Kidepo, we have like both the animals, like the giraffe and the zebra. That is the most beauty of that park. Now, another main attraction of our Uganda is the source of Nile. We all know about the Nile, but many of us, we do not know that the source of the Nile is in Uganda. The Nile has two major tributaries, the White Nile, which begins at the Jinja, Lake Victoria, and the Blue Nile, which is in the Egypt. So, and the White Nile is considered to be the headwaters for the Nile. So in the picture, we can see the source of Nile, and this water in the second picture, which is coming out, that's the source of Nile. There's a water gushing out from beneath, that's the source, they say. A multicultural country in East Africa, Uganda is a diverse landscape, encompasses the snow-capped Rwenzori Mountains, the River Nile, abundant wildlife and all, savanna parks, chimpanzee, gorilla. We have the Bivindi impenetrable forest where the gorillas are a must-see, the silverback gorillas, the Kidepo. There's the Big Five, and Dr. Orlando already took us to the Big Five. Here the Big Five is the bull, the lion, elephant, rhino, and the leopard. I would like to now take you to a tour of the game park. I hope you have like a knowledge of Uganda, and I'll maybe soon sometime you can plan to visit us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Indrani ma'am, for taking us through the Pearl of Africa, Uganda. We all are gifted to be here, including me. Next, I would like to request Mrs. Lynn from Nigeria to take us through Nigeria.
All right, a very good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me, please? Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Madam Rachna. Thank you, Swaminathan, for a beautiful time here. I've learned a lot from different speakers. Thank you for the insight of different countries in Africa. Africa is indeed a home to a rich blend of culture, people, and all that. Sorry, I've been multitasking between meetings, so I'll make it as brief as possible. So I'll just quickly go through a few things about Nigeria. Nigeria is the most populous Black nation on earth. It is home to the second largest film industry of the globe, while also being the fashion, technological, and creative hub in Africa. Nigeria is known for their vibrant, friendly energy expressed through diverse creative expressions. Our population is 240 million people. Our capital city is Abuja, and it has 3.5 million inhabitants there. It's a beautiful city. We have rocks, we have a very wonderful landscape. The name Nigeria is gotten from the river Niger, which flows through the country. And then it forms a Y in the middle of the country, River Niger and River Benue. So there's a confluence in a place called Kogi State. The official language of Nigeria is English. And then the literacy level in Nigeria is quite impressive. We have 63% of Nigerians age over 15 who are educated, who can read and write, basically. And then our religions span from Muslim, Christians, and other indigenous beliefs. I heard the speaker from Ghana talked about superstition. In fact, Nigeria, we have a whole lot of superstitious beliefs. There's a place called Edo State where the king would not see an umbrella. It's really weird belief, okay? You can't whistle in his palace. In the west of Nigeria, if you want to greet an elder, you need to prostrate straight on the floor. So we have this very unique culture and unique beliefs that make us unique in Africa. Our currency is the Naira. And then coincidentally, yesterday, 1st of October, was our national day. And, you know, everywhere in the country was like going all green and white because those are our national colors. It is the most populous country in Africa, over 500 indigenous languages spoken throughout the country. Social media in this phase after the COVID-19 has become the most popular platform to do a lot of things. We have young people excelling in technology and creativity through the use of technology. It's also home to one of the richest men in Africa, Aliko Dangote. It has 250 ethnic groups, and it is one of the biggest oil export countries in Africa. Now, there's something unique about Nigeria. We have diverse cuisines, diverse food, diverse dressing. We like loud colors. Someone that talked about Ghana talked about the noise. When you come to Nigeria, you hear the real noise. In the marketplaces, everybody talks at the top of their voices. Even when they're having phone call conversations, it's usually very loud. And that seems like some kind of a weapon to some people. So Nigeria is a place to be. Nigeria is a place to visit. Nigeria is filled with so many unique features that you would like: the landscape, the forestry, the industry, even to invest. You know, we have a lot going for agriculture recently, and of course with science and technology. So I would like to share a video. I just hope it goes through, just a short video of less than 1 minute. So if you would permit me to share this video, I'll be very glad. Can I go ahead, please? Sorry, can I share my video, please? Can
Sure,
I go
ma'am,
ahead?
you can go ahead.
Oh, all right, thank you so much. Okay, I hope it pulls through. Can you see my screen, please? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm really grateful. I hope you've learned a few things about my country. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Lynn. It was good. Next, I think Mrs. Nishu Katyal ma'am is ready to address regarding Benin. Rachna ma'am, I hope she needs some assistance from your side.
Ma'am, can I speak?
No, ma'am, we are not able to see. Ma'am, if
No,
you-
I don't think my presentation is, I'm able to Share
Okay.
the screen.
Wait for a while. I have received. Let me try if it opens from my end. Just give a second.
Okay, please let me know when I can start. Could you make? There is another one by the name of Katyal. Could you please make that one the host?
Okay. Okay, ma'am. Just a second, but I'm able to play also, I feel. Is it fine, ma'am?
Not it, ma'am.
No,
Okay,
no, ma'am.
sharing it's taking time, but it's done. Just wait for a second. I
Fine.
think it's done because
Yeah, it's perfect, ma'am, now. Yes, we can go for the full screen view.
Yes. Ma'am, please click present.
okay, ma'am, I already did, and it's showing on my phone on my laptop. It's showing, isn't it visible?
Yeah, but not the whole screen. Can I continue this way? If you click present, then it will show the whole screen. On the right.
Present on the right. I'm not able to see anything. Just a moment.
Next to the yellow icon.
Yes, I saw. Okay. I did that, ma'am. Just see if you are able to see, because on my phone the screen is showing proper.
Yes. Yes, we can continue.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, so hello everyone. Bonjour à vous tous. Je suis Madame Nishu Katyal and I represent the Indian International School of Benin. This school was established in 2008 and it is affiliated to the CBSE, and I have been heading this school for the last 13 years. Talking about Africa, this beautiful continent, which is not known to many, is the second largest continent and the second most populous. And it has an abundance of beauty to offer to the world. May we go to the next slide, please? Africa comprises of 54 countries, and Africa speaks 1,500 to 2,000 languages. Benin alone speaks 50 languages and dialects. This amazing continent has beautiful facts to offer. The Nile River is the longest in the world, and its home is Africa. The Sahara Desert, it's the biggest hot desert in the world, and it is also in Africa. And the Victoria Falls, as mentioned earlier, are also found in Africa. The beautiful flora and fauna is worth a visit. Ma'am, can we go slow with the slides, please?
Yeah.
Yes. Next, please. So, Africa offers natural beauty galore, and it is also home to the maximum migration by animals and birds, especially Tanzania. To some people, Africa has a very different image, but it's only the ones who live here or visit Africa who actually see what it really holds for all of us. Africa is coming up with a lot of modern facilities and advancing in technology. And it has a very peaceful life to offer to all its citizens. Next, please. So I welcome all of you to this beautiful West African country, which is not known to a lot of people in the world, but it is, even though it is in the turbulent region, it is one of the most stable democracies in the world. As you can see, the green, yellow, and red are the common colors in many African flags, and that on the screen is the flag of Benin. Next, please. This map shows you the location of Benin. It is located on the western part of Africa, and its shores are washed by the Atlantic Ocean. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So that is the shape of Benin. That's the silhouette of Benin. It's shaped like a key, and its neighbors are Togo, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Nigeria. We have here the president of Benin, Mr. Patrice Talon, who's serving his second term and is doing a lot of work for the country and its modernization and beautification. The most important resource of Benin would definitely be its people. The love and warmth that I have experienced in Benin is unparalleled in the world. As others before me have spoken, the etiquettes and the warmth that people show is something to be learned. Up till now, I only knew that I should wish someone or greet someone only when I know the person. But it's only after living in Benin I realized that people generally wish everyone that they see. So if you enter a clinic, you say a general bonjour, good day to everyone, and everyone responds. If you're walking on the road, you say bonjour to passers-by and they all respond, and you're expected to wish people before you start a conversation with them. You cannot directly ask them the route or what is the cost of things that they are selling. You first have to greet them, bonjour, comment ça va? And after these exchanges, do you start a conversation? Those are the beautiful beaches of Benin. Unlike some highly populated areas of the world, which do not offer a very beautiful scene, Benin's beaches are impeccably clean and not a lot of people found. So you can relax there and have a wonderful de-stressing vacation in Benin. Next slide, please. Now, this is a highlight of Benin. Many tourists like to visit this village, which is a village on stilts. So all the houses, the school, the market are found in a waterlogged area. And this is called Ganvi, the Venice of Africa, which is located in Benin. Next slide, please. That's the top view of Ganvi village, which is called the Venice of Africa. Next slide, please. That's one of the houses on stilts. So Benin, like many other African countries, was colonized by the French, and therefore it has a lot of influence of the French culture on its working, the language, the eating habits, the food found here. You will see the impact of French culture on all aspects of life in Benin, including the currency as well as the language. Yes, this is one main topic that I wanted to speak about, the slave trade. Benin is known to be a major exporter of slaves in the 16th to the 19th century. The last ship that carried slaves went out from here, from Benin to the Caribbean islands in 1885. And in those years, slaves were the main commodity in exchange of manufactured goods from Europe. Next slide, please. There you can see the slaves being transported. So this map shows us from which areas of Africa were slaves transported to the Americas. Art is an integral part of the life in Benin. The bronze statue that you saw in the previous slide is in the Museum of London. This picture shows you many wooden crafts of Benin, which are to be seen. They are extremely beautiful. Next slide, please.
And it's not moving.
Next slide is not loading.
Yeah.
Yes, next, please. That's another art and craft. We can move on here. That's a thinking man, a beautiful piece, which I love a lot. That's a mom and a child. That's a family, which is a very valuable part of the culture. Now, this is a seaport of Benin, where the seaport of Benin is a major resource for all landlocked countries towards the north of Benin, like Mali, Chad, Burkina Faso. And this seaport is a major source of revenue for the Beninese government. The exports of Benin. As I said, Benin is very rich in natural resources. Most of its resources and exports comprise of cotton, coconuts, cashews, gold, and scrap. Cotton forms a major part of Benin's exports. That's the cashew fruit. Most of those who have never seen a cashew fruit can see how it looks like. So the top part of the fruit contains the pulp, which is actually thrown away before the export, and only the lower nut is transported. Here you have Marche d'Antokpa, which is the biggest open West African market, and it is spread over 20 hectares, and it has a commercial turnover of around 1 billion francs CFA per day. This is a very iconic touristic place, which is called the Gate of No Return. It is a symbol of slave trade, and this is a symbolic representation to represent the place from where all slaves were exported to Europe. Another beautiful location, the Étoile Rouge, the Red Star. This beautiful lady is an ambassador of West African music towards the world. She has showcased West African music to the world. Angelique Kidjo is a major icon in Benin. Voodoo is a major religion followed in Benin. Benin is the birthplace of voodoo, and it is practiced by 17% of Beninese. Some other religions practiced here are Christianity and Islam. Now, most of us who hail from Africa know that serpents, snakes are revered in Africa. So in Benin, we have a particular temple devoted to pythons. Tourists visit this temple and you can find many pythons there and you can hang them around your neck. Thank you so much for your viewing. That brings me to the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Nishu ma'am. It was a beautiful presentation. You have taken up through the beautiful country, we can say, which is not known to many people, even though we are in Africa for many years.
Yes, sir. Yes,
With
sir.
that, we come to the end of the panel discussion. I would like to thank all the panelists, Mrs. Nagamai ma'am from Zambia, Dr. Seema Nair ma'am from Ghana, Mrs. Nishu Katyal ma'am from Benin, Dr. Yolanda from South Africa, Mrs. Indrani Mazumdar from Uganda, Mrs. Lin from Nigeria, for taking us to the rich culture of Africa. We can call Africa as the land of biodiversity, but many people, the moment they hear the word Africa, they get scared. But for the people who are into Africa, we say this is the loveliest place in the world. To be in Africa, you should be gifted by the Almighty. Reason is you are gifted to live with the nature. You will be having a pleasant time, happy time, blessed time in Africa, where you are gifted to live with the nature. Africa is well known for its nature, climate, weather, food, tradition, plenty of resources which the Mother Earth has blessed. It is highly available here, but not used in the right way. The people in Africa, we can say they are the most friendliest ones in the world. They greet, and once they start to develop the friendship with you, you will enjoy their friendship, you will enjoy their company like anything. They are the music lovers, whether they are in joy, whether they are in sorrow, whatever it is, they will move out of that particular situation the moment they start hearing the music. They love dance, they love music, they love singing. Main thing is they live a simple, sweet, and successful life. They are not bothered about how much saved in their bank account, how much is saved. So with this, again, Africans are well known for the moral values also. They follow the rich tradition and culture, which could be followed by many people across the world. Plenty of natural resources are available in Africa. And Africa is not only known for anaconda or something, it is known for the beautiful people, friendly people. So through this forum, through this platform, which is provided by GEF, we welcome people across all other continents to visit Africa, enjoy the places, people, and then you will think that you have to settle down in Africa after some time. With this short note, I would like to request Rachna ma'am to give the vote of thanks.
So thank you for summing it up for me so beautifully. So before I start my formal thank you giving, so you have summed it very nicely. And it's my privilege to formally give a vote of thanks on the occasion and on behalf of Global Educators Fraternity. I extend my sincere thanks first to Almighty and then each one of you, our esteemed member, our moderator, Mr. Swaminathan sir, each and every speaker, Mrs. Nagamay, Dr. Seema, Mrs. Nishu Katyal, dear friend Yolanda, Mrs. Indrani, and Lynn. So I thank each one of you for sharing your valuable inputs regarding the festival and about the fertile jaw, the flags, the rituals, rites. The few of the speakers took us to the beautiful visual treat, the handshake ritual, the etiquettes, the warm music, dance, Adowa dance, cultural sites, natural sites, economy about Africa. So, and Mr. Swaminathan rightly mentioned that the people who stay there are the best person to tell us about it. And yes, I express my gratitude to all the guests present here who have joined us on Zoom and watching us live on YouTube. We could enrich ourselves to know more about the rich cultural heritage of Africa, its natural beauty and all. But this is not the end. 1.5 hours is too short to know about a continent, and each day I know and I get much more excited to visit that particular place to know more. As Mr. Swaminathan already mentioned that Rachna ma'am in the beginning only he mentioned that Rachna ma'am, you would be excited to visit Africa. Yes, I am very much excited. Each one of us would like to visit Africa and explore more and more. And with this, I would just like to add on that tomorrow is our 7th day. So all our speakers from all the last 6 days, I would request each one of you to be present there tomorrow on Zoom. On behalf of Global Educators Fraternity, we would like to honor each one of you for sharing us such an insightful journey and taking us to the world trip, right sitting at the comfort of your home. So till then, namaste, bye-bye. See you all tomorrow, same time with day 7. And yes, sir, I just forgot to mention, I would like to add on one important part. today is 2nd October, Gandhi Jayanti in India. Okay. And the non-violence movement was started by Gandhi ji in South Africa. So what a coincidence. What a coincidence. On 2nd October, Africa was representing in around the world in 7 days. So I just realized this point. So I thought let it bring to our knowledge, everybody's knowledge that this is a coincidence. So with this, since it's a Gandhi Jayanti, Jai Hind from India. See you all tomorrow, same time, with another country, Taiwan, with our beautiful moderator, Vinny from Taiwan. See you all. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, ma'am.